welcome to this latest video in our series focusing on the findings from the MADD South Carolina 2020 court monitoring report that we call Refusal to Change. My name is Stephen Burritt. I'm the Executive Director for MADD South Carolina. In this video, we're going to focus on our fourth recommendation, which is to increase the use of technology that could advance DUI prosecution and adjudication. Really, these are four different ideas that all happen to fall under the heading of better use of technology, and I'll hit on each of them real quickly. The first one is to greatly expand the use of ignition interlock devices, which of course you may know as MADD's #1 policy priority to get South Carolina to a place where everyone convicted of DUI has to have an ignition interlock device for some period of time. This is the ultimate in terms of using technology to save lives because frankly, the statistics tell us since 2006, there have been 3 million drunk driving trips that are prevented by these devices. For the states that have gone to all offender laws like we want, they've seen a 16% average reduction in DUI fatality. So this would be huge for South Carolina. And we will be pushing again, as we did in 2019 and 2020. The new bill number is Senate Bill 28 that you'll be hearing us talk about a great deal. And hopefully this can be the year when we get this passed and start to see some life-saving impact from the use of ignition interlock devices beyond what we see now. The second technology recommendation is MADD believes that there should be increased use of officers having access and wearing body-worn cameras. Certainly over a number of years, there are many more officers now than ever before that are wearing body-worn cameras. However, we think that needs to be done even more because there's still a lot of officers doing traffic enforcement that do not. Now, the connection to DUI enforcement is that one thing that we know, if you watched our second video on dash cam issues, you know, it's so easy for a case to get thrown out by any sort of imperfection with the dash cam video. We are finding that in some cases that DUI arrests and cases can be saved by use of the footage from the body-worn camera because it may pick up something that the dash cam does not. So whether it's an audio or a video glitch or something happens just out of frame of the camera or something's obscured, the officer or the prosecutor may be able to find that actually it was, you know, you did get that shot, so to speak, in the body-worn camera. So we think that because of that reason, in addition to some of the other benefits of body cams, of course, it would be good to have all officers doing DUI enforcement to have body-worn cameras. Our third recommendation area has to do with using teleconferencing services for advancement of court cases and perhaps save some DUIs. So one thing that can happen with DUI cases, if there's any sort of chain of custody, very often it's expected that the defense may request that the nurse or toxicologist is present, and sometimes simply to say, yes, that's my signature, yes, I'm the one that drew that blood. More of a procedural aspect, and if they can't be produced, very often the case will not end up as a conviction. You know, with everything we've had to figure out during this COVID-19 restrictions, one thing the courts have experimented with is moving some of their hearings online, using things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams to get things done. We think that can be a practice that can maintain even after these restrictions are listed. So do we really need to inconvenience these people by having them maybe travel a great distance, take an entire day off of work or whatever it may be to be there when we can just include them by teleconferencing just to do some simple aspects and procedural type things? We think we'll be able to save some DUI cases that way. And frankly, it's just a smarter way of doing business that should work for everyone involved. So that's the third one. And the fourth one, kind of similarly, is, you know, we think that we should be using more advanced techniques to obtain search warrants as well. So sometimes in a felony DUI case, the officer will have to get a search warrant to get the blood. It has to do with that case. You know, for the most part, we're still using, you know, kind of having to in person get that signed by a judge or magistrate. It may involve going to their house or to court in the middle of the night to get it signed. Very often speed can be of the essence for these type of situations. So we hear across the nation that more and more states and law enforcement agencies are using technology where the officer can enter information into a system from their car. It goes to a magistrate electronically. They have to just perhaps wake up in the middle of the night, just read it, review it, sign it, send it back. And the officer has the search warrant with very little cost and inconvenience and should speed up the entire process. We think South Carolina should adopt that much more. We've heard relatively few instances of people kind of using advanced means of doing this, and we think there should be more. And really that would lead to a next step perhaps of getting search warrants, even perhaps for non-felony cases. Now in South Carolina, this would have to be proceeded on cautiously, reviewing whether that fits with our statute, making sure it's done properly with case law that would be supported. But it is a tough step that we see other places across the country taking in terms of saying every DUI is serious. We should not be so quick to accept refusals in other places if it's going to hurt the prosecution of the case. So we're going to go get a search warrant, to get the evidence that we need. Again, South Carolina one day could start moving towards that, but it starts by just using technology to get search warrants, even for the case situations where we're currently using them. So a collection of ideas we think makes South Carolina smarter, would reflect that we're willing to change, we're trying to change, and taking some steps that would make us all safer by reducing DUI. Thanks for checking out this video. Please be sure to check out the rest. Thank you.